Hey guys, this is Dr. Callahan for Algebra 2, Semester 2 for week 11, Friday. So congrats, you guys made it to the end. Pause the video and answer the following questions. Okay, so today is Friday. So next week, you guys will have week 12. And so we're the 1st of April, which I can't believe we're in the 1st of April, which is a little bit crazy because I feel like the school year is just going by so quickly. Your last day of school is June 7th, just so you guys know. So you have all of this time between the 1st until June 7th that we have. And so really, if you look at it, it's really just 2 more months, and then all of this is going to be done. And then you guys enter your senior year, which is super duper exciting. So yesterday was Thursday. And if you were not here, we had this right here. Does anybody need a copy of this? Anyone need a copy? If you do need a copy, I have it right over here. If you, however, have any work that you need to turn in from yesterday, because some of you guys did turn it in, just put it right there and I will go ahead and take it and I will go ahead and correct it. So if you didn't turn it in, you will not get your check plus. Now, if you didn't complete the assignment in its entirety, I usually give you like a check minus or a check. But check minus is still better than not turning anything at all, because if you don't turn anything at all, you get 5 out of 10. That's assuming like if you're just absent, okay? Now, if you are here, but then you're like on your phone or just sleeping or whatever, like, you walked into a casino and you're taking a nap on their sofa in there, I'll give you a 5.5 out of 10, which is a 55%. Now, if you do a little bit of work and you turn it in, but it's not, completed 100%, you can get anywhere between a 6 to a 9 out of 10. So that's like a 60 to 90%. And if everything looks absolutely beautiful, you get a 10 out of 10. So that's typically how you guys get your grade. Keep in mind that you need a 75% to, which is a safety grade. And the reason for that is your final is 15%. So what's 75 minus final in case you fail it? That final is a really hard final. You'll still pass with a 60%. Okay, so your safety grade, your goal between now and the day of the final in June is to get to that 75%. So you're like, well, what can I do to do that? There are several things that you can do, and it's never too late. My first suggestion for you is to, one, attend regularly, which most of you guys are anyways. Do the warm-up, exit ticket, your guided notes, and also like the Padlet when we do the reflection. Those are things that you can do. Next is your Math Excel. You guys have 10 questions every week. And then the next one is your assessment on Math Excel, which is only 5 questions. It's due on Sunday. Even if you haven't completed all of them from like week 1 to week 10, there's a deduction, but that deduction is always going to be above a 60%. You know what I mean? So you can still pass as long as you try to get it done. And then do the activities in class, but more importantly, turn it in like the one from yesterday, because I just give you a check if I have it. And then last resort is tutoring. So those are the things that you can do to raise your grade. And it's never too late. I always encourage you guys to turn in assignments even up to the day of the final. Okay, so if you have something, turn it in. We did 2 different matchings yesterday with radical transformation. So this is what it looked like. And then I had you guys do a to-do list yesterday, and then you just turn it in. This week is week 11. You have 10 questions for your homework on Math Excel, 5 questions for your quiz. We don't do tests in class. So this is it, you guys. So you have to do your Math Excel assessment, and it's not super duper difficult. You just have to complete it. Wednesdays is the day when I usually give you guys time in class. A lot of you guys just get it done in class, so that's good. But if some of you guys are like been kind of pushing it off a little bit, I just encourage you to kind of go back to where you should be at. So then you have your YouTube channel. Anytime that you've been absent and you're like, this is overwhelming, I don't know what I'm missing. You gave me a worksheet. I don't know what to do with this worksheet. If you look at the bottom, I always have like the date and the week. So this is like week 11 Thursday or week 11 Wednesday. You just watch the video and then it shows you how to go about doing that. So today is Friday. We're going to start on solving radical equations today. So that's what we're going to be going for. This is what our topic look like. It's your solving radical expressions day 1. I have a handout to give to you guys. And we're not doing matching active, just kidding, cross that out. Turn that in before the end of class. So I'm going to give you guys the handout. And then also I'm going to So looking at this right here, you guys, this is your video from yesterday. So up to this point, if I go to my playlist for this, you guys have 52 videos for your Algebra 2 semester 2. So I have 52 lessons or 51 lessons that I've actually gone over with you guys. And if you just scroll down to the very bottom, week 11 Thursday is right here. And just make sure you guys go ahead and watch it and then do that. All right, so with that said, let's move on to this part today. So first thing I want you guys to do is take a look at the bottom part. You have a bunch of blank spaces there, okay? And so we're gonna go ahead and fill that part out. First thing you wanna do is, as a quick little review for this, go ahead and read the top part on transformations. Look at the different graphs and go, when is it appropriate for my graph to go up and down? When does my graph go to the right or to the left? When does my graph become skinnier or wider? And when does my graph flip upside down? Okay, so just take a look at the part that's highlighted in yellow. All right, let's go ahead and jump into this then. So in summary, so the first one, it says f of x plus c. So for this one, this shifts the function. If you look at the plus c, where does that go? It's going to shift it up. C units, whatever C is going to be, okay? So if you have a plus number on the outside, it goes up. Similarly, if you have a minus C, that shifts the function down C. So the part that I'm highlighting right here, make sure you guys copy that part down that's highlighted in green. Now, on the other hand, notice if the number C is inside the parenthesis, do you guys see how it's inside there? That's going to change it. The first one is if it's going to be a plus C, you have to do the opposite. You're going to go to the left. I know you think plus means right, but no, it means left. And then if it's minus C inside the parenthesis, you're going to go over to the right. So again, just the part that's highlighted in green, you copy that part down. Okay, then if you have a negative inside the X versus a negative on the outside, notice a difference right there, okay? The first one, if it's on the inside, it's going to reflect over the y-axis, and the second one reflects over the x-axis. So if you're like, I don't know what that means. So the y-axis is going up and down, okay, like that. So if you have like, let's say a little star on the left side, you got to flip that star over and your new location's right there. On the other hand, the y-axis is saying it's this line right here. So that's the x-axis. So if you have like, let's say a happy face right there, you just need to flip it over that x-axis. And so your new happy face is now right there. All right, so then next part is, if there is a number A right there in front of the F, where A is bigger than 1, then there is another A right there if A is between 0 and 1. And then the difference of what that's going to do, so essentially one is A is bigger than 1 and the other one is A is smaller than 1. The first one is that your function is going to have a vertical shift by A. So what that means is it's just a fancy way of saying that if it's bigger than 1, it's just going to be a skinnier squeeze graph. And then if it is smaller than 1, it is also vertically by A, but really what it means, it's just going to be wider. Okay, it's going to be a wider graph. And we can just stop right there. I don't need to go on to the next part. So this is good. Okay, so now let's go ahead and take a look at some of the examples. So we're going to be right there on that side. And we'll start right here on the top. Okay, so on top, you guys have two different type of questions. The first question you have is a square root. The other one that you have is a cube root. Now, you guys know how this is going to look differently with each one. So with the square root, you know that your graph is going to look something like this. So with your highlighter, just go ahead and draw that graph. And then with another highlighter, I'm going to use green. If it's a cube root, it's going to look similar to this one, but the difference is that you have this green line, but it goes down this way as well. So it's kind of like an S looking shape. So the first one you should have is in red. And the second one you should have is in green. All right, let's go over the two different equations. And if you look at the right side right here, you guys, notice how I gave you guys like little hints right here, how it works. Like for example, K means you go up or down, okay? So that's the first highlight. H means you go either right or left, depending whether it's positive or negative. A is either going to be skinnier or wider. Okay, so that kind of gives you like little hints. So let's take a look at the first one. One second, let me set it up a little better. All right, so grab your highlighters and let's take a look at the first two questions. I'll go over one of them. I'm gonna have you guys do the other one. So I'm gonna go over this one right here, okay? I see that this is a square root, so I know my graph is gonna be like in that shape, okay? The -3 means that you're gonna go 3 down. That -1 inside means you're gonna go 1 to the right. So I'm gonna go 1, 2, 3 down, 1 to the right. There's my little dot. That's my vertex. My vertex is at 1, 3. And then with your highlighter, you can just go ahead and draw the graph. Now that I went ahead and did that one, I'm gonna have you guys graph this one. Notice that it is a cube root, and so your graph will look something like this, but you do the transformation for that. Thank you. I'm going to go over this question right over here on the right side. And so if I look at this part right here, first thing I notice is there's a -6 on the inside or +6. So that's 6 to the left because it's positive. You're not going up or down because there's no number on the outside, so it's going to stay at 0. Next thing I notice is that there is a 1/2. So that 1/2 means that A is smaller than 1. So it's going to be wider. It's a wider shape square root. So I'm going to go 6 to the left. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There is my dot. My vertex here is at 6, 0. And then remember your graph is going to be wider. Okay, so it's going to be something like that. All right, I'm gonna have you guys try to go ahead and work on this one in green. So give that a try. All right, let's go on to the last two. For the last two, I'm gonna go ahead and do this one right here. All right, so this one, they rewrote it a little bit differently. You see how there's a 2 right here? That 2 could technically be on the back end right there. And so all that means is you're gonna go 2 up. So they rewrote it to kind of confuse you, but you guys are smart, so you're not gonna get confused. That +3 means you're gonna go 3 to the left. And that negative right there is just gonna be reflected. Okay, so you're gonna flip it upside down. So I'm gonna go 2 up, 1, 2, 3 to the left, 1, 2, 3. There's my vertex. So my vertex here is at -3, 2. And then my graph is gonna be flipped over because of negative right there. And it's just normal shaped because it doesn't have a less than 1 or greater than 1. So it just look like that. And now that I did that one with you guys, I want you guys to try this one on your own. And then we'll be done with this. I'll move on to graphing, or not graphing, solving. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at this. If you need to go ahead and check your answers so you can see the how yours look like with mine, go ahead and go to this QR code with your cell phone, and it'll take you guys to the first 3 that you did on your own, and I'm gonna give you guys a minute to check your answers. So your answers look something similar to mine. So just go to that QR code with your phone, and then make sure your 3 right here look like my 3. All right, let's move on, you guys. Let's take a look over here on solving radical equations. So flip your paper over to the back. And this is our new section today. We are done with graphing them. So we're going to close that chapter. We're going to move on to solving. So for solving radical equations, okay, your goal is to basically figure out what the letter is equal to. So there are two different kinds that we're going to be dealing with. The first one is with the cube root, and the second one is with the square root. So, and to get rid of that, it's the same thing. Cube root just means you cube both sides, like what I'm doing right there. Square root just means you're going to put a square on both sides. So make sure you guys copy the part that's down in the red. And isolate the radical, perform the inverse operation, check for extraneous solutions. And so those are the 3 steps. All right, let's start off with the first one. I am going to go over, out of these 3 questions here, let's do question, this one right here on the far right. Okay, I'll go over that one with you guys. So looking at that right there, that's the question. Let's see if we can make that just a little bit bigger for you guys. No, maybe not that big. Hold on, let's see. Paste. Okay, so that's a little bit bigger. All right, so looking at this here, you have a cube root, okay? To get rid of that cube root, you gotta make sure there is no numbers on the outside of this cube root. Do you have a number on the outside of this cube root? You do, you have a -1. You gotta get rid of that -1 before you try to get rid of the cube root, okay? So opposite of a -1 is a +1, so I'm gonna put +1 on both sides. Cancel the plus and -1, and you get cube root 3y plus 13 equals 3 plus 1 is just going to give you a 4. All right, so then I'm going to go ahead and get rid of my cube root because there's no more numbers on the outside. Opposite of a cube root is a cube. So put cube on both sides. Whatever you do on the left, you got to do the same thing on the right side. And then look what happens. Your cube root and your cube cancel, and everything that's inside that square root is now free. And what's 4 times 4 times 4? It's not 12. I know a lot of people are like, oh, it's 4 times 3, that's 12. Like, no, that's not it. Opposite of a positive 13 is a negative 13. So then 64 minus 13 is then give me a 51. And you should have a calculator on your desk. My last step is to just divide. And how many times does 3 go into 51? Oh, 17. Your answer is just going to be 17. Now, here's the thing. You cannot just leave it like that. You literally have to check your answer because sometimes they give you like a false answer that might not be right. So how you go about checking your answer is you just simply take your answer, which is y equals 17, and you're just going to put it back into the equation right there. And the easiest way to do this is just to use your calculator, which I'm just going to bring my calculator up just to show you guys. Clear it. And so then I'm just going to do, okay, cube root. So to find the cube root, you go to math. You see math right there? What number do you see the cube root right there? I don't know about you, but do you see like 4 right there? So I'm going to push 4 on my calculator, and there's your cube root. So you're gonna do 3 times y, y is 17, so 3 times 17 plus 13, enter, that gives you a 4. Don't forget your -1 right there. -1 gives you a 3. Did my equation equal to 3 right there, you guys? Yeah, it did. So then what does that tell me? That tells me that my answer is correct and I can keep that as an answer. And I know you're like, well, why would that not be correct? There's a thing called extraneous solutions. So what that essentially means is that sometimes we get 2 answers, one of them is not right. And you're like, why would that not be right? It's kind of a tricky thing. And so I'm just gonna talk about extraneous solution. So what it means is that when you get more than 2 answers to a problem, and this doesn't always happen, it is possible that one answer is wrong. And they do that to trick you. So you have to plug in both answers into the equations to check. And I will suggest use a TI-84 calculator because it's a lot faster that way, okay? So let's go on to another equation and see if when we find that extraneous solution. So now that I did these two, I want you guys to go ahead and give these two a try on your own. Notice yours is square, not cube, but you guys can do that. So for those of you guys at home, you can pause the video and give that a try as well. If you guys would like to check your answers, here are my answers right there for you guys for the first 2 questions. So take a look to see if yours is somewhat similar to mine. And if it's not, if you need me to go over them, I'll be more than happy to. Does anybody have any questions for the first 2? All right, so if you don't have any questions, I'm gonna go on to the next part of this, okay? So the next one that I have is going to be from the second row. So we are now on this row right here. And then I'm gonna go over, let's go over the first question in the second row, okay? We'll go over that question right there. So notice how it's written differently. You have square roots now on both of them. And it looks complicated, but actually this is a much easier process. So what you're gonna do is to get rid of this first square root, I'm gonna square it, but whatever I do on the right side or the left side, I have to do it on the right side. So when I put that square here, the square root and the square just cancels. So I'm just gonna cross it out, it's gonna go away. And guess what? Everything on the inside is now free without the square root. So you have 3n equals 4n minus 1. So then we just solve it. I mean, you guys know how to solve equations on the minus of 3n on both sides. And then you got to add the 1 on both sides as well. I know it looks a little bit stacked like that, but 3n cancels. you get a 1 on the left side. 4 minus 3n is a 1n, and the 1 cancels on the right side. So then what is your answer? N is just equal to 1. And then you have to check your answers, okay? So if I'm gonna check my answers, square root of 3 times 1 is just 3. Does that equal to 4 times 1, which is 4 minus 1, is also 3. So yes, it does. They do equal. So you just visually kind of check that. So now that I figured out and went over the first one, I want you guys to take a little bit of time, do the second one and the third one right there in yellow. Okay, so take a moment and do that one. You guys check your answers for 1, 2, and 3 for the second row. And I want you guys to pay attention to the third one right here. Do you see how you have 2 answers for the third one? For the third one, you have x equals -7 and x equals 6. Remember I told you that you got to check both answers when you have more than 1 answer because one of them is like tricky. They're going to give you the wrong answer. Your equation here is x is equal to the square root of 42 minus x. Okay, so let's go ahead and check the second answer. When x equals 6, 6 equals the square root of 42 minus 6 is going to give you a 36. What's the square root of 36? 6. So that one works. So that's a good answer. It checked out. But then if you check the second answer right here, -7 equals the square root of 42 minus -7 is a 49. What's the square root of 49? +7. Do they match? Are they equal? Nope. So this is not an answer. That is an extraneous solution. So you cannot include that. If you circled -7 and 6 as an option on your multiple choice test for your final, it would be wrong. So it's just 6. So just be careful with things like that. So take a moment, take a look at your 3 questions that you've gone over and make sure the match is mine. All right, let's go into the next part here. So the third row, you guys, we are going to be right over here for the third row. Give me a second. 1, 2, 3. I should do the second one. Okay, in the third row, I'm going to go ahead and work on the second one. So I'm going to go over this one with you guys right there. Okay, so looking at this one right here, what we're going to do is you have x equals 4 minus that. So what you're going to do is, I don't like having that 4 there, so I'm going to move that 4 over to the left. So I'm going to subtract 4 on both sides. Okay, that's your first step. Then what you're going to do is you're going to cross that out. On the right side, you guys, you have square root of 3x plus 6. And on the left side, you have an x minus 4. You can't just subtract it, unfortunately. So then we're going to get rid of the square root by squaring both sides. And when you do that, this gets a little bit complicated, but you guys are smart kids, so I'm going to go over it with you guys anyways. The x squared and the square root cancels. And so on the right side, you have 3x plus 6 equals, if you take a look on the left side, Do you remember this thing that we did called FOIL? You rewrite x minus 4 2 times, and then you guessed it, you would have to essentially FOIL that. So remember, FOIL is F-O-I-L. Some of you guys probably do this in your head, but if you can't, I'm just gonna follow along with you guys. First is x times x, which is x squared. O is outside, so x times -4. So that's a -4x. I stands for inside, so that's a -4x. And L stands for last, so that's -4 times -4, so that's a +16. Now, if you take a look at the outside and the inside, do you see how they both have an x? And you can combine them together, which will make it a -8x. So my answer on the left side and what it looks like is just x squared minus 8x plus 16 equals on the right side 3x plus 6. Okay, so now we're gonna do is we're gonna get rid of that -3x and the minus of 3x. I'm gonna follow a line, align it up with the things on the left. I'm gonna minus that 6 here as well. So line it up. And guess what? Everything on the right side cancels, so it's gone. It's a 0. And on the left side, x squared minus 11x plus 10. Okay, so at this point, remember factoring, like what times what gives me a 10, but when I add it together, it gives me a -11. It's your favorite, I know it is. So think about two numbers. What times what gives me a +10, but then when I add them together, it gives me a -11. I don't know about you, but I could do a 10 and a 1, and if both of them are negative, that would work. Okay, let's solve it. X minus 10 equals 0. Add the 10 on both sides. X equals 10. That's your first answer. X minus 1 equals 0. Add 1 on both sides. X equals +1. Anytime you have two answers, one of them is not right. Okay, so now you have to play like this guessing game. You have to check it. Which one is not going to be right? Grab your calculator, might be the easiest one for you guys here. So here's my calculator. When x equals 10, I look over here. Okay, so 4 plus, I'm gonna put 4 plus, square root, 3 times 10 is 30, plus 6. So I just type it into my calculator like this. And then I hit enter. Does that give me 10, which is x? Yeah, it does. So that's the correct answer. That one checks out. I'm not crossing that one out. Now let's try 1, okay? So when x equals 1, I have 4 plus the square root of 3 times 1 is 3 plus 6. Does that equal 1? I don't know about you, but it looks like this one looks like it is at 7. 7 doesn't equal 1. So what does that mean? That means this answer here for 1 is a fake answer. That's not a good answer. So I'm just gonna cross it out. The only answer you should have for this one is x equals 10. And that's it. So I'm gonna have you guys try these two on the left and right side. Give it a few minutes and we'll check your answers. All right, you guys, take a look at your steps for the other two questions. See if you're like somewhere around the right area. And if you're not, it's okay. You're just practicing. And this is our first day doing this. So you're supposed to not understand 100%. If you don't, it's fine. You know, we'll go over this again for 2 more days. Okay, if you're still copying this part down, don't worry. I'm gonna have you guys go to this QR code right there, and you have the page to all of my answers, even for the next 6 questions. So go to that QR code, and you'll have it. And that way, if you didn't copy everything down, it's not a big deal because you still have it there. I don't know about you guys, but I love the QR code. I feel like it's saving so much like paper, just might not printing things out, and it just like give you guys to like a website, and then you can just see it there. It's just so much easier. For those of you guys with me on Zoom, you guys are pretty much done with this. The only other thing that I would like you guys to go ahead and do is to make sure you go ahead and check your answers for the 12 questions. 1, 2, 3, 15 questions. And other than that, I hope you guys have a great day. Take care.